there's an image I use on a lot of my slides. It's of a kid like literally in a wagon that fell over. And I just think it's hilarious because so often, like we've all been that person that's literally fallen over or fallen on their face or just done something really silly. But are you getting back up, and are you getting back on the wagon? Are you going to continue moving forward? And there was a client I had, and I've worked with her probably about 4 years, and she had some really difficult stuff going on in her life. Her husband had early onset dementia, and he was dying, and he still is, in fact. And so when I found her, she was going through some very difficult times. But one of the things she said is, she's like, every time there was another stage that happened and things got harder, it used to take me months. I'd cry for months, sometimes even like weeks on end. And she's like, now it's still really hard, but I might cry for an hour. I might be out for a day, like not more than 2, but I have the tools to realize I can keep going. And I think that was the biggest thing, because it was like this huge long time frame versus now, yeah, it is hard. Life isn't always going to throw you sunshine and roses.
High performance coach with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. This month, we're going to be talking about truth. And today I have Larisa with me, and we're going to take this on the angle of abundance and legacy. Larisa, thank you for being with me today. Please tell us a little more about you.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks so much. I remember when I first got into this world, it took me about 10 years to get pregnant. So talking about resilience, it took me a while, and I felt it was like an uphill battle every time there was hope, there was some backward movement. But over the course of the time, we eventually did get pregnant. And one of the things I realized is that I love working. I love serving people, regardless of what business I've been in. So I've been involved in many different businesses over the years, from financial services to various sales positions. I had a real estate company. We had a pole dance home party company. So that was unexpected. Pole dance home party company. And then when the previous career to what I do now, I was running a Pilates studio. And so it's always been some kind of aspect of service, some kind of way of helping people. But I feel like I love learning. I love so many different things. And one of the consistencies pretty much since day one was personal growth and development. And I am the person, I'm at my mother's house right now. We're out of town, but I'm the person with my bookshelf, usually on this side of me, full of books. The one thing that's the chore about traveling is you just can't take as many books as you want with you. I know those Kindles. I love the paper books. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is I realized I'm so passionate about whatever I choose to invest my time in. And right now it's my current business. And while I love my family and I love my son, I'm also madly in love with helping others and serving and having a life and business that I want and love. And my son is a part of it. He's not the only piece of it. And I think when I finally came to terms with that it's like, I can be a mother and I can be a CEO. I can be a mother and I can have my own life. That was a really big turning point, because prior to that, I never felt like I had really had permission. It was always like, well, mom's gonna have side jobs. And that was the mentality I had. And it was really scary stepping into motherhood.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's that balance we're all trying to find today, because really every mom is probably working one way or the other in most cases. If you're blessed to be home and that's your choice, nothing against that. We tend to attract a lot of mompreneurs on the podcast because we're trying to do it all, and it takes a certain level of resilience. 1 second, my little guy's interrupting. Well, I used to have a townhome, so I used to do this upstairs. Now I'm in an apartment, so we get a lot more interruptions, so I apologize for that. But this is mom doing it all, so I'm still figuring it out myself. So I'm curious, because before we got on, we were kind of talking about how moms think they have to be one thing or the other. And I grew up with that mentality. I'm going to get married. I'm going to be an at-home mom. My mom was an at-home mom. But I realized now she was doing some side things. She was teaching piano on the side. She did eventually go back to school to get an associate's for teaching, and went into politics. Actually, both my parents were politicians the last couple of years, even together, which was interesting to watch and witness. So she never kind of stood completely on the sidelines, but I think it was a balance because there were 6 of us, and there was times where I wish mom was more available, but I also understood something about pursuing your dreams and being fulfilled and exploring who you are. And I'm grateful that I learned that from her, and that she didn't let her creative side go with music and the things that she loved. So when someone is deciding to step into balancing all of these things, whether you have 6 kids or you have 1 kid or what, how do you give and allot enough time to the relationship with your spouse, to the business, and to your child without mommy guilt?
I've been doing one of the things I do with my clients. So we have a coaching company, and one of the aspects that we have is we do morning success calls. And so every morning we put our tools to work, because one of the things I've seen is so many people go to seminars or take a course and training, and they do something for a short period of time, but they don't sustain it. And so the idea is get yourself set up for a beautiful day, jumpstart your day in a powerful way each and every day. And so one of the things we do usually every year, sometimes frequently throughout the year, but is study emotions. And we were studying guilt. And I love that you said without mommy guilt, because I think guilt is just right up there.
Yeah.
It's a toxic emotion that we don't need. But if we're not actually doing something wrong or malicious, there's no need to have guilt. Like if you deliberately hurt your child, you should feel guilty. If you deliberately do something and don't try to rectify it, you might feel guilty, right? Like there's very few things we actually need to feel guilt over. And as moms, it's this self-imposed thing. It's like, well, if I feel guilty, well, what's the benefit? Are you getting extra attention? Are you justifying your behavior instead of taking responsibility? And I think when you really just look at what guilt is and just decide that you don't need to wear guilt as a shield, that I think that's like step number 1. It's less about the time and how much time you're spending with people doing certain things, but it's like, what is the thing behind the thing? And we often talk about that in our morning calls, because we take the time to explore things. We don't just have to rush through processes, but it's like, what's the thing behind the thing? Oh, great, you feel crummy. Well, like, what's really behind that? What's underneath that? And what's underneath that? There's often many different layers, and we don't really take the time to figure that out and see how we're actually operating, because it doesn't matter what we want. It matters like what we expect, and your expectations show up in your results. And so if your results aren't what you want, deep down, regardless of what you're pretending to say out of your mouth, there's something deeper going on. And I think this is really where we come like full circle to truth, because when you start owning your own truth, your own magnificence, stop lying, and I'm using the word lying very deliberately, because I think we don't mean to lie, but we just do to soften the blow. We just do to feel better. And it's not necessary. We could just be really truthful with who we are, where we're going, what's going on. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I do some questionable things. I say some questionable things. I'm a human. But I don't need to sit there and try to justify it. I don't need to sit there and hang on to it. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Next. It's kind of like, those dating apps. I've never been on one, but like the idea of
I've been on one. Yeah, next.
Swipe. I don't know. But it's that idea. Like you can just swipe it away. It's like acknowledge, swipe, but you don't need to give these things more energy. And I truly believe like we all do the best we can with the skills we have. And we live in a world of abundance. So you can take A or B, or you can ask for both. My son's gotten very competent in that department. However, it's not always A or B. And sometimes you get none of it. Sometimes you get both. But you have to be open and receptive. And it really is about your energy. And so when you're spending time, like how do you find the time to spend? Well, some days my husband and I might be really busy and my son might be in a lot of activities, but we might spend 5 to 15 minutes together. Other days we'll spend the whole day together. Other days we'll have a few hours together. Like it's not just about the quantity of time. It's how are you spending that time. It's the quality, and a certain level of quantity is important, but are you being present? Are you being aware? Are you, one of the things my son is brilliant at is when I'm not in a great mood, he will call me out on it, and not in a mean way. He's like, what's wrong? Like, you should tell me what's going on. Like, he calls me out. He's like, you're just pretending you're okay. You're not okay. And nobody else in my life will do that. Maybe my mother, but she doesn't see me as often. Like, my 7-year-old son can call BS on me, and he doesn't let go. And he does it with compassion. He does it with love. I'm like, how did this child learn this? I have no idea. I'm so grateful, because in that moment, I'm like, wow, I feel so loved. I feel so seen. I feel so cared for. And it's because he's paying attention.
Well, and I think it's your example of living your truth too, because no relationship can really flourish if you are showing up as a counterfeit of your true self. They won't know who you are because you don't know who you are. I kind of experienced this when I had a major transformation in my life. I took a self-compassion class, and you get to the end and you're supposed to totally, fully accept yourself. And I couldn't. And I couldn't figure out why. And that finally dawned on me, I don't know who I am. So how can I accept myself until I truly know who I am? And two things that Kate thought I was noticing as you were talking, that I think women get caught up on, and I know were things I had to overcome, was really understanding the voice in my head that was other people's expectations of what my motherhood should be, what a career should look like for me, what my family should look like for me, instead of me trusting my intuition of what my truth is and what is best for my family. So I think that's one piece of it. And the other is getting caught up in any kind of comparison. I think instead of comparing ourselves and maybe even being jealous a little bit, or thinking, oh, I want to be like that, there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of jealousy to motivate you to want to be more, but that's all it should be, because we're only in competition with ourselves every day. And so much of what's out there right now isn't real, not completely real. You're seeing people at their very best moment, their very best family vacation. You're not seeing the tantrums or the arguments or behind the door, the pieces that are making us human. I think we're striving more and more for more authenticity, but we also have these private lives that need to be honored. So I think boundaries is another piece of that. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on those three things, on making sure you're aligned with your truth and not other people's expectations, not falling into the comparison trap, and making sure once you know your truth, having the proper boundaries around it to support it.
Yeah. So I was probably about a year ago, I came across the quote that comparison is the thief of joy. And that was really, it was really profound, because I think so often we forget that we might be comparing ourselves to others. We're comparing ourselves to our previous self. Like, comparison is a really toxic thing. And when you're always wondering, like, what's going on? Like, am I better than them? It's not about that. It's about like, how are you showing up? And I think comparison really does rob you of the privilege of showing up as your authentic and best self. And I like to say, like, you need to get to know yourself better than anyone else. Yeah. And that's exactly what you were saying. And I love that you said that openly, because sometimes we're like, 12 weeks, we take this course and our lives are supposed to change. Awesome. But when they don't, it sucks. You feel like a freaking failure. And this is exactly why I started the morning success calls, because I had these awesome mindset calls every single week. And we're teaching this abundance work. I was a consultant for the Proctor Gallagher Institute, amazing, brilliant stuff, changing people's lives. And the people that did the work got results. But you know what? Not everyone did the work. And they felt really crappy coming back week after week going, oh, I meant to. And then I felt terrible. I'm like, well, how can I not get these people to do something? Like, and I felt like I was failing because I wasn't doing them justice, even though I knew they needed to do the work. So I told them, I'm like, well, for a month, you can come into my morning routine and see what I do. Because I don't just check the boxes. Like, I dig into some stuff. Some days I will read a paragraph for an hour. Some days I will journal. Some days I mix up the way I integrate the work. And so I gave them a back seat and like a backdoor view to what's going on in my head and how I do this work. And what happened was they just needed to click join now. and it was easy and they showed up. But in doing so, they didn't have to have the pressure of figuring it all out themselves.
Yeah.
And so we studied together. But what also happened is they're like, wow, I feel so amazing after the first week. They started to really get to know themselves because they took the pressure off. And I think so often as mothers, like, you took this course, you had these expectations, which is great. If you are motivated that way, rock on, do more of that. The fact is, not everybody is motivated like that. In certain cases, I love pushing and hard deadlines. In other cases, I go back like 3 steps. And when you start to know your patterns and your trends, you can start predicting things and making smarter choices. And when you keep coming back to this and really accept where you're at, you don't have to have judgment. And I think judgment is a big thing, because then you're like, you don't beat yourself up over things. When you fall off the wagon, you just get back on. So a couple of days ago, I went for a walk with one of my clients, and she was with me for 2 years. And she's like, you know what, Larisa, I used to be so hard on myself for so many things. And then I realized, well, if this didn't work, I could just start again. She's like, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it held her hostage for years. She was always worried about what people said. And for her, she's super successful in her career. Like, she's not a pushover. She's a great mother. She loves her family. Like, she's got so many great things going for her. And then she had these little tiny things that she's like, oh, I hope people don't see, because we all have our own things. But when we take full ownership over ourselves, then we can move forward. And so you were asking about boundaries. I think boundaries are great. But again, I've done boundaries lessons and we're going through structure. Awesome. However, you need time to let some of these integrate. Some boundaries you can set and they'll just work. Other like, you actually have to set boundaries and hold them multiple times.
Yes.
And sometimes they have to be more structured. Sometimes they need to be like, you might need someone to like hold your hand or kick you in the pants to actually remind you to uphold them. But you need to have the ability to set them and maintain them. And that doesn't happen overnight, right? And so this is why this work takes time. This is like a never ending process. You're never going to stop learning about yourself, growing, investing in yourself. And if you do, when I was in the financial services arena, there was one of our leaders, he used to say, when you're green, you're growing, when you're ripe, you're rotten. And I think he got that from a Ray Kroc quote. So Ray Kroc was the founder of McDonald's. But I kept thinking I didn't even like tomatoes, but I kept thinking of rotten tomatoes. Whenever I see the rotten, I just see this rotten tomato. And I was just like irked out, like bug infested. And I'm like, I do not want to be rotting. I want to be, beautiful skin, plump, juicy, and like lovely. And that's the image I keep getting. But I do not want to rot. I want to keep going even after like certain things start sagging and shriveling more than they should in another 10, 20, 30, 40 years, because they will. But I can still be beautiful on the inside, and I can express that beauty. And you never have to go backwards. And so I think, in terms of boundaries, it's one thing to say, I think that's a big buzzword in the personal growth world. And especially with mothers, it's like, gotta set the boundaries. But it's another one of those things that's got a lot of pressure behind it. Because if you don't do it right, if it doesn't work the first time, you feel like you suck. And you really don't. You just have to keep coming back to it. The people that succeed just never give up. It's like kids. Why does my child get iPad more than I would like him to? Because he is more invested in the cause. He never gives up. Like, mine, he goes for it. He's like, what else can I negotiate? How else can we make this happen? And he is persistent, but he's invested in his cause. And I'm like, you know what? If you have that much creativity, go ahead. He got up. He's like, look, I did my cursive writing. I did 2 pages instead of just 1. And I wanted to get it done because I think I should get the iPad now that I've done my piano, my cursive, and it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning yet. Like, nobody asked him.
Yeah.
Run out of bed. But he's like, okay, while you're on this podcast, I'll be quiet. I think the iPad's a good choice for me, Mama.
I've got one that's logical like that and has like constant rebuttals. I'm like, you need to be a lawyer because I get to the point that I'm like, because I'm mom and I need you to for me right now. Like, so, but it's so important that they develop that skill though of how to get a yes and do it in a proper way and to earn it and to do the work. And I think that's beautiful to hear and a great way to approach it. If they are being creative, if they are being respectful, absolutely they should get a reward. And so I think too, as a single mom, I'm not happy with how often screens come up as a babysitter or as something that needs to be used. Like I'm in a different size apartment compared to a townhome a year or two ago. And it just, things have been very different even to do the podcast now. But what I come back to is that quality time piece. Like, what's the quality of the time? Is my child on apps that they're learning? Did I make sure reading happened at least in some capacity today? Did we get outside today? And I think it's whatever those essential things are that are important, but they don't always happen. Every day looks different. You have a kid that gets sick, it kind of makes things move. So one of the things that I do as a high performance coach, we've learned this technique of block time and blocking your time and having your calendar. But I will find that I have to do a couple other things to kind of keep myself ahead and flexible. One of them is be prepared to move a block somewhere or something. Something comes up with the kid or something changes, be flexible and being able to move. And then the other thing is when I do have time, get ahead. If I can get ahead on a project or I can get ahead on something, that never hurts anything. And so if I see a kid doing the same thing, I'm getting ahead on earning how much of my screen time I get. I'm promoting we're going to go outside today. Like, definitely see where it makes sense to reward in the new world that we live in today. With that, I'm curious because it sounds like you're living a very abundant life. And I would be curious to understand your definition of resilience. I mean, 10 years fertility struggle is no small thing. And then all these things, but abundance to me, kind of like my path led me to resilience. I'm kind of curious how you came to that word for the work that you do now. And we lost your sound. So I'm just curious how you came to abundance as what the work that you do now. Because it took me a while to land on resilience. When I first started being online, I did a hat every month. I had a different theme. And then I hit resilience and I just, that's my hat now. That's my word. So I'm curious how you came to abundance. But I also want to know what your definition of resilience is as well.
Okay. So when it comes to resilience, it's about the capacity to withstand and recover from difficult situations. But I often think of a rubber ball. It's the bounce back rate. So I always think of a bouncing ball. Like, are you coming back up? When you fall over, do you get back up? And there's an image I use on a lot of my slides. It's of a kid, like literally in a wagon that fell over. And I just think it's hilarious because so often, like, we've all been that person that's literally fallen over or fallen on their face or just done something really silly. But are you getting back up and are you getting back on the wagon? Are you going to continue moving forward? And there was a client I had, and I've worked with her probably about 4 years, and she had some really difficult stuff going on in her life. Her husband had early onset dementia, and he was dying, and he still is, in fact. And so when I found her, she was going through some very difficult times. But one of the things she said is she's like, every time there was another stage that happened and things got harder, it used to take me months. I'd cry for months, sometimes even like weeks on end. And she's like, now it's still really hard, but I might cry for an hour. I might be out for a day, like not more than 2, but I have the tools to realize I can keep going. And I think that was the biggest thing because it was like this huge long time frame versus now, it is hard. Life isn't always going to throw you sunshine and roses. They're there. You may not see them. However, there may be difficult situations, but how can you manage them? And even in spite of, I know that for me, like my most difficult moments, my most awful situations are also the greatest blessings. Like, I would not give them up for anything. I don't need to talk about them. I don't need to dwell on them, but I've chosen to learn from them. And I think when you learn from things, it makes it easier to keep getting back up, but you have to take the time to learn what that is for you. And when it comes to
think of a kind of a fun saying. So you always hear, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But I like this one better because I think it fits resilience and just like deciding you're in charge of your life. It's like life gives you lemons, make orange juice and confuse them all.
Oh, I love it, love it, love it. Yeah. So, and I think that, I mean, that really is about choosing your own path. You asked about abundance. And when I first started my company, I was a consultant for the Proctor Gallagher Institute. I did not have a plan. We didn't have a website for the first 3 years. We attracted clients right away, but I was training Bob Proctor's programs. They were phenomenal. They were all very abundance minded. And while I did that, I also got trained as a practitioner, master practitioner, and trainer of neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. So super nerdy, super sciencey, super strategic and brainy. But I really loved being able to combine the strategy with the flow. And one of the things I started becoming exposed to was this world of manifestation, of woo-woo, of abundance. And what drove me really crazy is that a lot of times people talked about it, but there wasn't that concreteness behind it. And I worked in movement, and there's like the science and the psychology. There's the concrete exercises, and then there's like the soft human skills. And so that was one of the things I really wanted to explore, because I know I couldn't fully embody it until I had some level of understanding. And I think we're often asked to have faith, but it's not faith based in understanding. And when we do have a level of understanding, like, the world opens up. And so I really started to study abundance. And there was a book called, oh my goodness, I think it's a Robert Russell book. Might even be I Am Prosperity. I don't know. I think he writes I Am Prosperity and all of it. It's teeny tiny. Can't remember the title, but I remember like really reading it over and over again and just seeing this word and this world come up. And so about 3 years into our business, we were doing a rebranding process. And I was Larisa McCoo coaching, because I was just like, I don't really know where I'm going in this business. I'm going to follow direction. I'm going to do things. I'm going to do my work. I'm going to help people. But I didn't have that plan. And after a few years, I started to develop that, like, based on the work I did with clients, what I saw was working, where I saw challenges were. And just in the branding process, it was actually with Laura from Lab Creative. She really made me go deep and challenged me and frustrated me in beautiful ways. But we looked at Abundance Academy as a rebrand. And she's like, you're a dancer. Abundance has dance in it. It's about the bigness. It's about the possibilities. And it just made sense. And so it was from a branding process where the name came from. But I think it was just, it's always been there. There's always been this essence of possibility of, well, yeah, I can ask for A or B, but I want both. And I really do believe that it's not about being frivolous. It's not about being wasteful. It's just, if you genuinely want both, go for both.
Well, I think really people get caught up in the idea that you can have it all. Why do you have to have it all? Why can't you just have flow? What does that look like for you? I think is a better way to approach it too, because if we get caught up in having it all, we have to have too many things, and it feels like it's just overwhelming and unattainable. Or it's like these little wins every day that you're kind of talking about that build on each other, and the truth of what is lighting you up and what's feeding your energy so you have energy to give. That's more of what abundance is. But also a lot of people are the opposite. They're in scarcity. And so like for a mom with a lot of kids, or a single mom even, they can get in the mind of, well, I'm just one person. I only have so much energy. It's kind of this mindset of there's only so much, versus abundance that you're talking about. I think the biggest distinction I've had to learn is that there is enough in the world. There is enough. And if you've got a big enough why and a big enough love for your kids, if you connect to that energy, then you can see there's enough. And you got to fill yourself up, though, with it in order to give it as well. Versus scarcity is like, I'm giving and I'm not getting back. I'm just putting it out there and I'm not receiving. So I think flow is kind of more of the key. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, I like when you're like, if I give this, then I need this. That's like so mathematical. And I think we do get into that's really about horse trading. But I think when it comes to abundance, like you can have it all, but you probably don't want it all at once. You probably don't need it all today, this second. You probably don't want it all, like they say on Instagram. And this goes back to knowing your truth. And I feel like, yeah, we can have it all. We can be it all. We can do it all. However, if you aren't giving yourself the time to like pay attention to yourself, you're going to get caught up in scarcity traps. And I think there's a lot of really sneaky ones. It's like scarcity can show up with the people you spend time with. Maybe you're spending time with people that really aren't supportive of you, and you think they have your back, but they keep you small. Maybe it's making purchases just because it's on sale. So I was at a boutique recently, and I was like, I found some great things and I bought a couple things. And then I was like, wow, there's these are other things I love. And they were on sale. And it really got me thinking. It's like, I wouldn't even look at something if it wasn't on sale. And now I was like, wow, a sale was a bonus. Great. But I didn't go hunting for it because it was on sale. And I think that's how I used to live. It's like, well, we can't even look if it's not on sale, because why would we want to buy something full price?
Oh, I can relate to that so much, because 6 kids in 8 years, and my parents, when I was younger, before they got the businesses going and things were flourishing, it was always like, what can we get a deal on? How can we save money if we eat out? Everything. And it took me a while to realize I was still carrying that into my adult life in a way that wasn't serving me. So it would almost be like, okay, if there's this on sale, I'd buy more of it than I needed because it was on sale, because it may never be on sale like that again. And I love how you're distinguishing this, because I think this is a trap a lot of people fall into. And I actually recently learned a trick too. Someone from the Growth Day, Anthony Trucks, just gave this example that I'd forgotten about, but it's a really great trick. If you see something you want online, or even at a store or something, take a picture or take the link, email it to yourself, and give yourself 24 hours to process if you really needed or wanted it, because it's getting caught up in the emotion, right? So I think abundance too is not getting caught up in what you called those scarcity traps, or those emotions that lead to actions that actually don't serve your abundance.
Yeah. Well, and I think another like scarcity trap, and I have a whole list of scarcity traps in my personal elevation playbook. So like when you go through them one by one, you're like, oh, I've done that. Ooh, like that one. But even something like saying no when you want to say yes, or saying yes when you want to say no. Scarcity trap, but you don't like, if you, now that you're aware of it, you're like, oh yeah, like that really does make sense. But these are sneaky ways that it's not just the, oh, I don't have enough money for that. Like that's an obvious one, which is a big one to be aware of. But I think it's in opportunities. It's in how you show up. It's in justifying and making excuses. It's in even things like hoarding. You might not think hoarding is about scarcity, but there's a trauma response to that. It's a scarcity thing. It's like, oh my gosh, like you said with the toilet paper, like let's get all the toilet paper because it's on sale. And that's, you know what I realized is toilet paper will keep going on sale. If you find a sale, great. But my mother-in-law, gas will go down, and she'll call me. She's like, gas is going down 2 cents. Go fill up today.
Oh, like, yes. Yeah.
I don't have time in my schedule to save $2 on my gas bill right now.
Yeah.
I have meetings. I will go enroll another client and earn a lot more than $2 to save on my gas bill.
And you're coming back to a truth, right? The truth is it will go on sale again. The truth is it will that. So I think the check we have to do with ourselves between scarcity and abundance is knowing ourselves enough to go, is this in line with my long-term goals? Is this aligned with the energy that I have today? What is more of the long-term end result? Because I think it's that instant gratification that we can do in a click of a button that really gets us and the next generation in trouble. We're so used to information, buying things being readily available, and stuff slowing down enough, which you also talked about, to be aware of why we're making that decision. Because I know I am aware my parents are hoarders. And so I've been able to go, oh, wait, am I doing that? No, I'm not keeping that pattern going, kind of thing. But it's taking that slow down awareness. Do I want this? Is it serving me? Will this fit my long-term goals? Instead of just doing what emotionally the response is. And I think it's so funny because it's our brains trying to like protect us, right? But depending on how we were raised, what patterns were set, we have to fix those, or we're never going to really be able to fully experience abundance, because we're going to keep getting in the same loops or the same scarcity traps.
and even like abundance versus scarcity, there's still labels. And if all you do is just feel good and live a good life and be a good human, like whatever that is to you, go hard, go have fun. And I think that's ultimately, if you're living in a beautiful spirit and you have beautiful energy and you focus on that, the right things will fall into place. And so often we do overcomplicate it. And it's, whether you call it abundance or scarcity, like when we use the labels as a guide, but you don't need to take them so seriously. Like, you already are abundant. You don't need to apply for it. You don't need to, fill a Google form to say, I think for abundance today. Like, it's available to you, even if you've had the worst life, even if you've had the worst day, even if everything is falling apart, you can take a breath. Like, you're taking a breath. Think about how simple it seems to just take a breath, but what is going on in your entire body to enable you to take that breath? I have a tree. There's so much wind in Saskatchewan. There's a tree rustling in the wind, but like, how many leaves are on that tree? How many blades of grass are on the lawn below that tree? Like, there is so much abundance in nature, within our own bodies, within our own energy field. I am not going to knock you if you love to shop, because I am taking an extra suitcase home. The little one we have to go buy a bigger one, because I indulged. I am assisting all the local retail shops in Edmonton and Saskatoon. So I'm all for that kind of abundance. Love it. And I also love other things too. And that works for me. And I know that. I used to feel bad and guilty going, oh my gosh, I want to buy more clothes, or I want to buy this because I feel beautiful. And now I don't need to feel guilty. I'm just like, yes, this is right for me. And there's a lot of stuff I say no to, but if it's right for me and it makes me feel good, I'm going to say yes.
And that's living your truth and living into it, and living into it as a mom with resilience or abundance or whatever your niche is. That's your unique special gift to the world and to your children and to your family. Maybe you have a different word. In our high performance coaching, you pick 3 words you want to live into for the day, for the month, for the year. And I'm going to be a teacher, and I'm absolutely going to start with, okay, what word are you living into today? Like, that's a beautiful thing about our human nature as well, is we get to change, we get to adapt, we get to evolve into who we want to be each day. But I think it comes back to that truth. If you don't know what's true for you, also don't feel lost. Like you said, there's really no right or wrong as you're exploring what works for you. And you could take your framework or my framework or somebody else's framework and just make it your own. And that may take some experimentation, some trial and error. I know, like getting my kids to clean, for example, like I can't tell you the number of different techniques and strategies I have tried with that one before we've settled on something, for example. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it taking that long. They've evolved. They've also changed. And I think that's the interesting thing about being a parent, is like, you think you have it figured out, and then they change, or something changes, and it stretches you and makes you grow in ways you would on your own, because you would never think to challenge yourself in that perspective. So that takes resilience, but also takes understanding that that's a lesson that's helping you, and that child is put into your life for maybe that reason. But on the other side, you're the mom for that child. Like, that relationship was meant to be this partnership, to be this meaningful part of your existence. And so we want to do that the best we absolutely can, but that looks different for everyone.
And it comes right back to like the first thing we started talking about, like, what do you want? Where are you going? Do you know yourself better than anyone else? I think there is we were talking before the podcast, before we started recording, and you're like, we love practical things. We love practical things. And there is one simple thing I love to do with clients, and we often do this on our morning calls and in some of our other programs, but it's a question that I got from, I believe it was Abraham Hicks, or one of those books, one of the Abraham Hicks books, but wouldn't it be nice if? And it's so simple, but what it does is, if you just start asking yourself, wouldn't it be nice if, and then filling in the blank, like, wouldn't it be nice if my kid decided to get up and do his cursive writing this morning by himself. Great. If it happens, amazing. Ding, ding, ding. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Wouldn't it be nice if I could get my 10K steps in before noon? Wouldn't it be nice if I could attract a new client today? Wouldn't it be nice if our whole family could have dinner and just like the most amazing conversation? Wouldn't it be nice if I got this project done in my business, like actually done? Great. Like whatever is at the top of your mind, answer that. And what it does is it gives you the ability to ask for what you want without the pressure of having to fulfill it. And I think the beauty of that is we might say, what do you want? What are your desires? Where are you trying to manifest? Awesome. But if it comes with pressure, and going back to the guilt thing, this gives you the chance to say, this is what I would like. It would be really nice if this happened. But it's not saying, I need it to happen or my life will not be worthwhile, or I like it hard, or oh my goodness, first world problems if it's not gonna turn out the way I expect.
Possible. It opens up that thought process and energy that it is possible. I love
you
that.
Put it out in the universe, you plant your little seeds, and when they're ready to come back to you, they will. And what I love about that phrase is it's simple, but it also helps you get to know yourself. It helps you get to know your actual desires. And you might say, wouldn't it be nice if, and fill in the blank with something that's like a template that someone else wants? Like, wouldn't it be nice if I did that thing on Instagram? And you're like, actually, I don't like Paris. Like, there's so many pictures of Paris, and everyone's like, oh, I love Paris. And I'm like, well, I've been there. I'm not a Paris person. I'm open to trying it again. Maybe I'll like it if I go back. It was okay. I like other places better. So I've learned that, but wouldn't it be nice if I went to Paris and I liked it this time? Great. So it doesn't matter what you ask for, but if there is any desire in your body, in your soul, in your energy field, and you want it, just speak it. And you're going to know if it's aligned by feeling, yeah, this feels right. And if it doesn't feel right, you're going to be like, this is not right.
With my teenager, because we're trying to figure that out as she's developing herself, and that opens up possibilities instead of thinking she has to know concretely this is for her or not right now as she's developing. I'm going to give that a shot, because I'm just trying to feed possibility. Like, what do you want to explore? Who do you want to be? It's okay, you don't know that yet. And I love how this just opens the door for, well, that would be cool if this happened, or it'd be cool if that happened. And then what does happen, we'll let them know. And that's like, I think, that constant check-in of, how did that feel? Did that feel aligned with me? Did that fill my cup? Did that bring me joy or not? And continue making that list of what is moving you in the right direction. I've absolutely loved this conversation. I love the tools. I love the movement towards possibility, resilience, and how to apply that to our families and our kids and the work that you do. If people want to find you and continue this conversation, where can they find you?
They can go to, we are myabundanceacademy.ca. So we've got some free resources on there. And I will also send you a link to my personal elevation playbook. So that is something I mentioned. So if they're interested, I will make sure that you have access to that, because that's a beautiful tool. And when you register and get access to that, then you'll be connected with us as well. It's absolutely free.
Talk to that one mom that wants abundance, but she hasn't quite got it yet. What would you say to that one mom?
Don't be so hard on yourself. Just keep going. Like, take a chill pill, go for a walk, have a glass of wine, not 3. and just keep going. Realize, like, you're probably further ahead than you think you are. You just need to keep moving in the right direction.
Beautifully said. All right, audience, thank you for being here. Please comment down below. Tell us what you liked, what tools you're applying, and how it's going for you. Don't forget to subscribe and share this message with someone who also might need it. I believe in you, believe in yourself. God bless, and we will see you next time on the Resilient Mother podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe so we can share this message. We are a worldwide podcast with guests all around the world, and we want to continue to grow this community. You can find us on socials. You could also be a guest. Look for that link below if you'd be interested in being a guest on the podcast. If you know a sponsor or would like to be a sponsor, please reach out to me or Catherine as well.
Sure. We want you all on this journey. We want to hear your stories. We want to share your stories. We want to gain strength from each other because together we're stronger. And to never forget the blessing of being a mother and what we're creating. We're creating the future every single day of our lives. So get on this train with us and let's do this thing, moms.
I believe in you. Believe in yourself. God bless. And we'll see you around. Take care.